All right, welcome to Three Count Theaters because I actually watched the movie. So we'll talk about Suicide Squad 2021, starring Margot Robbie, Idris Elba, and John Cena. So I just happened to catch this flick, so I decided to watch it. And since I watched it, I might as well do a review of it. The movie was directed by James Gunn, who I'm guessing is the same guy that did Guardians of the Galaxy, and it had a very Guardians of the Galaxy type of feel to it. So I'm gonna give you my initial thoughts. It's gonna be full of spoilers. I don't see the purpose of reviewing a movie without spoilers. So if you've never seen it, back out. If you have seen it, let's talk about it. So I review movies and wrestling matches and characters and stuff like that in the same similar ways. So what I did was, as I was watching the movie, I filled in the David Mamet questions, the four questions I always ask. The four questions of drama. What do your characters want? What is standing in their way? What happens if they don't get it, and why now? To me, this is a real simple way to start writing a story. And sometimes when these directors they try to get real cute with the characters and big names and violence and blood and cussing and stuff like that, they kind of forget the spine of what it's a movie is supposed to be telling a story. And so before I get into all of the characters and what I think about the characters, I have to tell the movie. So what do the characters want? Okay, so the Suicide Squad is put together for the express purpose of infiltrating the country of Corto Maltese, or whatever the hell. So it's fictional, right? So they want to invade this country or infiltrate this country because they're told that this building called Jotunheim has some type of alien technology within it and it needs to be destroyed. So that's what the movie is about. That's the goal of the group. It's two to three goals. One is to infiltrate the Corto Maltese, the country. Two is to destroy the Project Starfish, and three is to stay alive. Overthrowing the regime or the coup that taken over. I'm leaning into the fourth part, but taking doing that was secondary. So what stood in their way? Well, what stood in their way is it's a country or a city or I don't remember what it was, but it has its own government, it has its own military. So it's like a whole military force that could be out to get them. There was also a lot of infighting. Usually, when they do movies that are based off groups, that's going to be the case. You're going to have characters that are going to have competing values, competing personalities, and different things like that. In this movie, you had John Cena and Idris Elba. Their characters were kind of on opposite ends quite often. You also had Idris Elba and had a problem with the rat girl because he was scared of rats. You had internal struggles like the polka dot man who was abused as a youngster, so he had those problems. Harley and her personal problems. So you had those kinds of situations. Then you had the politics of the situation of standing in their way, where you have to deal with this foreign government, this foreign country, in a language that you don't speak, and of course the fact that Starro is an absolute monster. He's an alien, so that's the problem. He don't want to be destroyed. So of course the monster does not want to be destroyed. So that's obviously going to be an obstacle. So what happens if they don't get it? Well, what happens if they don't get it is that this foreign government, this non-friendly government, will now have control over the alien technology and can use it in any way that they want. Also, what we learn later in the movie is that Starro is a sentient organism and can decide to take over if it wanted to. So if you don't destroy it, it could just take over and start doing all sorts of damage to the world. So the stakes are pretty high. So why now? Why is this movie taking place right now? What is the necessity of them doing this right now? Well, this goes back to the beginning of the movie. So Corto Maltese was a sort of almost like Cuba-like country. It's supposed to be Cuba, like the Cuban Missile Crisis. And what took place was the country was overthrown by this new guy. The new guy overthrew the government. The government previous to the one that was overthrown was sort of friendly to the United States, and they were housing this Starro and the alien technology and all of the experiments that the United States government was doing. All of that stuff was being hidden on this island behind this friendly government. But now that the friendly government is gone, it is a necessity to go in there and destroy it before anybody actually finds out that it exists, and ties it to the American government, and exposes that the United States is experimenting on the Corto Maltesian people and all that stuff, right? So, like I said, it's a little bit of a take of the America Cuba type of situation, because America still does have spaces on Cuba, Guantanamo Bay, where they do torture and stuff like that. So that's really what we're supposed to be getting out of this whole thing. All right, so I'm not going to go through the entire movie. I don't want to tell plot for plot, beat for beat, what the movie is about. The movie's has several characters in it. John Cena plays the Peacemaker. The Peacemaker is essentially kind of like Captain America. He's like an evil, bad version of Captain America. The negatives to this character is that he's pretty much just an empty suit. That he just kind of does what people tell him to do. And he doesn't really think for himself too much. But he's at the same time, he's very competitive with the Idris Elba's character. I forget what his character's name was. I think it was Bloodsport, I think it was. But Peacemaker is sort of like one of those jack of all trades guys, but he's sort of a super soldier, where he's really, really good with guns and weapons and stuff like that. There's a really interesting scene where him and Idris Elba are going through killing all these guys, and they're trying to figure out who is the best at killing these guys. So you see this scene where, Peacemaker is chopping this guy who's already, laid out under a white sheet. He's probably already dead. And he just chop, 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 chop with an axe, just chopping this guy with this axe. And then they're shooting people in very creative, like Devil May Cry type of ways, and, trying to one up each other. The Cena Idris Elba, I can't remember. Well, Peacemaker, Bloodsport, combination, and or their competition, and it comes to a head at the near the end of the movie, where Idris Elba ends up shooting John Cena in the throat, which he kicked out at 2. Again, this is a spoiler alert, but Super Cena kicked out at 2 3/4. So he's still alive, but he got shot in the throat and then played no part in the end of the movie. He didn't get to be a hero. He was pretty much a damaged asshole throughout the entire flick. But it was original for Cena, He's cussing in this movie, he's violent, his blood and stuff. Okay, so Idris Elba plays Bloodsport. He's sort of the thug with a heart of gold. He's picked to be the leader, even though he's not really the leader. He's went to go find, I think his name is Jack Flag. I'm trying to remember his name. I don't know DC Comics that well. At least I don't know Suicide Squad that well, because they changed the roster so much. But he's picked to be the leader of the group. He's really good at weapons too. If you remember Deadshot from the first movie, that's all Idris Elba is. He's just Deadshot with a negative relationship with his daughter. So his daughter is screaming at him about, how she's embarrassed to him, and he's embarrassed to her because she got caught stealing, I think, an Apple Watch or something like that. And they're screaming at each other while he's in prison, and she's sitting out, supposed to be coming to visit him. And you see almost immediately that relationship is really toxic and ugly. And Idris Elba's character still is, despite the fact that he's a villain, he's not really a bad guy. At least that's what you expected to believe, is that when it comes down to it, he's still more heroic than everybody else. When John Cena's being an asshole, he's the guy who's kind of set him straight. They banter back and forth a lot to let you know that Cena is sort of the worst version of what Idris Elba's character could be, if he didn't have a conscience, if he didn't have a family and stuff like that. So we get a really cool thing near the end where Amanda Waller tells Idris Elba and all of those guys to just forget it. The Starro thing is loose. It is now taken over all of these people on Corto Moldova, or what is it, Corto Maltese, or whatever the fuck it's called. And forget it. Just leave it alone. It's over with. And he doesn't want to. He chooses not to. He takes the initiative to turn around and save the people that, they unleashed this beast all over them. It's their fault that the monster is out and doing this thing. And so he wants to protect those people and actually help them and save them and stuff. So he actually got to, make his daughter proud at the end of the movie. She sees him on TV, and he's saving the people of Corto Maltese. and they're talking about how much he's a hero and everything. His daughter was like, "Wow, that's my dad. Like that's great." So he got a good character arc. Now he was never really all that bad. He really wasn't like horrible, but he got a good character arc. His daughter went from hating him to his daughter went into actually appreciating him and liking him. Another story was Harley. Now Harley's whole thing, of course, is for starters, how many times has Margot Robbie played Harley? For fuck's sake, does she own this character now? Like I feel like this is the third or fourth movie she's been in where she's been Harley. I don't know. I don't I don't I feel like not been paying attention, but wasn't she in Birds of Prey and in the first Suicide Squad? It's like, I don't know, man. Anyway, Harley's whole thing is she's been trying to get over her trust issues and her relationships with Mr. J, the Joker or whatever. This was handled pretty well in this movie. They had her be the one that infiltrated the country and seduced the leader, the general who took over the country, and then she shot him and killed him because he ended up being an evil guy. And she basically gives this speech, and it's in this crazy, almost the crazy Harley Quinn type way, where it's full of non sequiturs and bad jokes, where she's like, she liked him, but she was looking for red flags, and she told herself that anytime she meets a new guy, she starts to fall for him, and if there's going to be any red flags, she's going to have to kill him. And so, she shot this guy with this huge gun and just boom, shot him. And he bled out on the floor, and she just kept talking to him. But, this was her way of dealing with, the abuse and the relationship that she had with the Joker. And then at the end, of course, she finds finally friends and relationships that she actually cares about and people that she actually trusts, as these people came to save her, even though she saved herself in this situation because she was being tortured. After she killed the guy, all these generals and people with guns and stuff showed up to kidnap her, and she was being tortured. And she thought they weren't coming to save her. So she went about saving herself. And then as she escapes, because of course she can escape and save herself after she was tied to the goddamn ceiling. In any event, as she saves herself, she is, flattered that these guys showed up to save her. And that actually begins like the turn of her character, where she actually starts to try to befriend some of these other characters. So those are the three main characters. I don't want to go into the other ancillary characters, but Polka Dot Man had mommy issues. He got his powers, which is to shoot out polka dots or various colors. He got his power from his mom experimenting on him. So he has this. His mom always wanted him to be a superhero, and I don't know the name of the actor. I'm sorry, but his mom always wanted him to be a superhero, the Polka Dot Man. And he was experimented on, him and his brothers and sisters, and he was a survivor. And if he doesn't shoot out the polka dots twice a day or something like that, they begin to grow on his skin. So he's pretty much a weirdo. That's like a real weird guy. Like he sees his mom in everyone, and it's very strange. It's very, very strange. The last main character is the Rat Girl, who I'm not even going to pretend like I was paying attention to anything that had to do with her. But it seems like her father was on the original Suicide Squad that got murdered on the beach at the beginning of the movie. And she is now being sent to take his place. And they have this power where they can talk to rats and get rats to do their thing, which is a completely useless power until the end, where she ends up being the most powerful person in the fucking world. Right? This, of course, is a back doorway of doing Squirrel Girl. Probably James Gunn probably heard about Squirrel Girl and said, "Does DC have a Squirrel Girl?" No, well, I'm pretty sure they might be. This Rat Girl might really be a character in a DC comic or something, but I've never heard of her. I've never heard of Polka Dot Man either, if you're being honest. But in any event, the Rat Girl ends up being the hero of the story because she summons 700 million rats to eat a giant starfish. It is absolutely absurd. It is absurd. It is the dumbest shit. Oh, man, what? Look, I know the movie's silly. It's a comic book movie. But come on, bro. Every rat on the fucking continent showed up to climb Starro and eat them alive. Bruh. Bruh. That's a big bruh. King Shark is developmentally delayed in this movie. Obviously, they were looking to try to score on a Rocket Raccoon, uh, uh, not Drax, but a Groot kind of character where he's just super cute. Like he's a giant child that eats people. Like he's reading a book upside down when we first meet him. And, you know, he's like, and he's like really impressed by little things. And he kind of befriends the rat girl throughout the movie. They become friends. They have a relationship. So they did do that. Now that is better than in the original flick, the first Suicide Squad movie, where they didn't really do a good job of making them a cohesive unit. They did a decent job here of showing the infighting and showing what makes these characters get along, and gluing the group together. So ultimately, was it a bad movie? No. Was it great? No. It was just kind of like, it was there. It was okay. I mean, if you got 2 hours to waste, it's fine. You know, it was a lot of blood and guts, and sometimes I think people get mixed up in that stuff. You sacrifice something when you go full. Everybody's going to be cussing every 5 seconds, and somebody's going to get their head blown off every 5 seconds. It's kind of weird. Personally, I watched the movie just to see how John Cena would be, and he was actually okay. Like this role seems to fit him. And I could see Cena as an evil Captain America, and I think that was a great, choice for James Gunn to get somebody who's big and jacked. I would have liked for him to do like fight scenes, straight up punch and kick type of fight scenes. I think it would have been a use for his wrestling talents. And maybe I heard he's doing a spinoff TV show, so maybe he'll do more of that stuff there. But I thought Cena did okay. Margot Robbie was definitely less annoying here because they put less emphasis on her. Idris Elba, they did a lot more as far as the emotion, using him as the emotional glue. But I just feel like that character is just dead shot. Except Will Smith didn't get called back again. But there was a lot of similarities between those two characters. There's a lot of similarities between the first two movies in period. Like in the first one, there was a traitor in the group, and it ended up being I think it's the Enchantress. She ended up being the villain. And in this one, it ended up being Starro. The government is really the villain. So, I mean, okay. I didn't hate it, but I didn't think it was all that great either. I wouldn't rush out and watch it again. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Like this video, share this video, subscribe to the channel, donate to the channel, support the channel, sponsor the channel. And I'll talk to you guys later, man. Peace out.